What's up, world, and welcome back to the Global Frequency. I am Nefarious.
And I'm Frequency Girl.
And tonight we are joined by Matt Simecek, here to tell us all about his upcoming crowdfunding comic book campaign, Shadowpunk, launching June 18th on Indiegogo. What's up, Matt? Did I say your name right or did I butcher it?
I'm stunned and shocked that you did it exactly right. Did somebody talk to you?
No.
Do you have an Eastern European name?
Not precisely.
My mom's family.
She's part Polish, so
that
kind of
helps.
have the
Yeah.
But I'm glad that we got it right. I'm glad I didn't butcher that. I just screwed up the opening in other ways. Of course, have to even it out, right? Let's say hello to the chat real quick before other people filter in. We've got D-Wag saying he's first, which he is. Chemo's disappointed. He says first. Oh wait. We got Aerith. Early and gay. Yes, he is. We've also got Mo Biggs with us, as always, the one and only. And we've got Dean James Comics Mate from The Git, which is
like the second time that happened.
Yeah, that's very rare. So
Your honor.
We've got some of the regular crew with us now, and I'm sure as we go along, more people will trickle in, and we'll say hi to them as they arrive. But
yeah, we usually run a little late, so people probably shocked that we're starting actually on time.
And
are you late, people?
Yes.
Yeah, I am. I'm always late. But
Always him.
Why don't we get to know you a little bit better before we get into the book? How about that?
Okay.
Where
sure.
were you born? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Michigan, in the Detroit area. When people say they're from Detroit, a lot of times they live in the suburbs outside of Detroit, right? And I've always been an artist, man. I've always been superheroes, and I went to art school in Detroit here at a school called Center for Creative Studies, which I studied illustration. And I did that, and I worked in a studio after college, and I ended up getting into animation after that. I was doing motion graphics and like a lot of stuff for the auto shows. I was doing giant graphics for auto show stuff. And then I ended up, out of weird circumstances, working in my home. And I'm like, I wanted to start doing animation instead of graphics. I wanted to focus on doing character animation, like you see in my movie. But I didn't know how to do any of it. So I spent, 4 years working on the movie, which is also learning how to do it. And then near the end of that, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he said, well, why don't you do a comic book? And he doesn't know anything about crowdfunding. He doesn't know that people make their own comic books at all, And I'm like, and I knew because I'd been watching Ethan's channel, right? That was kind of my in for, I think a lot of people have that in. And so then I jumped into it, and here I am.
Well, I mean, we're certainly glad to have you. That's a nice little synopsis of the journey that's brought you here. But let's back up for a hot second. First, of course, let's say hey to Will from Creators Outlet, as well as 24 Eyes. Welcome to 24 Eyes, and to Buddy Lord of
driving at the moment, so drive safely.
Very, very safely.
Yes.
Now let's back up a second. Mo did touch on this. It is one of his and my favorite questions, whether or not you have any sort of professional education in storytelling through sequential art. And apparently you said you went to the Center for Creative Studies in Michigan, outside of Detroit.
CCS is actually a pretty famous school. It's famous for industrial design, obviously, because the big three have been here for so long, or they used to be here. So I studied graphic design, then I studied illustration, And at that time, it was more like editorial illustration. For example, like one image that will wrap up a article in a magazine, right? And you have to wrap it up and tell a story in one image, right? But when I worked in an illustration studio as like a mat room guy, right? Entry level thing, and these guys were awesome. One guy had like 50 different styles he could do, right? And I'm like, there's a bunch of different artists there. They all do different styles, and you're like, what? I mean, it was quite a challenge for me. It didn't work out that well, but I did learn a ton. So, and I did, and at that point, I mean, you've got to take your failures and learn something from them. So I'll go back up even further. Ever since college, I've been using Adobe Illustrator as one of the tools to make images. And so when I went to make the comic book, I knew that ramping up and becoming Scott Williams is going to be tough. Okay. I knew I couldn't do that and do all the rest of it. Right. So I decided, why don't I just do I'll draw it and then I'll ink everything in Adobe Illustrator. Right. And it's very strange that people go about it that way, but it gives my book a different look. And the challenge is to make things look like they have life. Right. So I was able to do that, I think. So, yeah.
So when did you start reading comics? And was there a book that inspired you to go on that journey to, learn all of the things that you didn't know, and like realize that you didn't know them? Was there a book that kind of led you into that? I got to make one of my own.
Yeah, probably. I mean, early on, I remember there was a couple. There was one Frank Miller cover that he did for like one of those Marvel Presents comics, right? I loved the Hulk when I was growing up. I loved Thor. I love the X-Men. When I was probably like 10 or something, I got all the Byrne X-Men, right? And I was totally into Byrne, and I was I saw the power of the medium.
It's funny. It's funny how you refer to them as the Byrne X-Men. They're not the Byrne X-Men. They're the Claremont X-Men. See, this is very, very clear. We're getting into it now. You're definitely going to lean into the art side of things, which is great because it's the visual recognition about how the story is being told. Of course, being a writer and limited to my artistic ability of drawing stick figures, I have to know them as the Claremont X-Men. You know what I mean? That's true. The speaking to me of the character and that that's Claremont. But I do appreciate how for you it's visually recognizing the characters as Byrne's characters. That's really neat.
I'll say something, and I did love Dave Cockrum's runs on the books, but when you stop collecting at a certain point, because the artist changes on any book, which is kind of common for me. It was a real good learning lesson over the years to recognize the fact that both of them came together to make something great on any comic book, right? And comic books are such a visual medium, but without a good story, nobody cares. Right. I mean, at some point you go, I'm not really engaged. The characters I don't relate to. The plot isn't a good one or whatever, And I bought a lot of those, I'm sure. But it's a coming together of those that really makes a difference. Yeah, I mean, I think that is my bias showing for sure, because I definitely look at things definitely from an artistic point of view. Somebody like Frank Miller. Frank Miller is a big influence on me. And my style is not really Frank Miller-ish, but sometimes I'll do things that are like him. I found it hard as an artist to copy other artists. I know that sounds strange. Like, hey, Frank Miller has a great style. To start doing something like that and make a whole book like that, right? But I whenever I did that in my life, I never produced anything good. It always turned out to be like a watered down something. So, I think at some level, you've got to do your own thing, and work on making your style compelling, whatever that style is, because I mean, granted, not everything is compelling, right?
Right.
That's fair.
Let me say hey real quick to Matty Fowler up in the chat. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us, Matt Fowler.
He's bagging and boarding
Let me
while
get
he's watching.
Hold on.
Oh, you're gonna get the fig.
Oh.
He's gonna get the fig. The tiger blue 3D sculpt. I saw him showing that off earlier today. Look at that. Hold on.
Let me embiggen you.
Embiggened. I clicked the button first.
Well, you're not supposed to.
But I did.
I'm surprised the whole stream didn't explode.
Look at that thing right there. That's crazy. Look at it. It is so cool.
Oh, it's awesome.
So I was having a hard time printing this guy because you have to build supports around him to print him correctly. And
you got a scaffolding.
Scaffolding, right? And I just got it done. I got one done today. So Fowler, I finally got a good one printed, and you can see it. And I'm gonna I was gonna DM him, but I'm gonna paint one of these and then give this away as a freebie. Hopefully that doesn't spoil Fowler's marketing strategy. It helps him, right? Maybe it pumps up his book or something,
Right? Yeah, you can definitely be doing some advertising by painting up those. Do a speed paint. You know what I mean? Like film yourself doing it. And do a time lapse or whatever it is. Don't forget to thin your paints. By the way, I see a lot of people painting stuff up, and I'm really excited to see so much model painting going on. But a big part of model painting is thinning those paints down. Using those acrylic paints. You've got to use a wet palette, or even if you're not using a wet palette, just glob some of that paint on a paper, on a surface, and add some water to it to make it like a slurry almost. And don't over saddle your brush or overburden your brush with that paint. You want to keep a nice two thin coats. That'll do it. Don't worry about getting it all on in one. You're right. It's been far too long since I talked about modeling. Watch our viewership's just cratering now.
I'll say your theory is the right one, but it's easier said than done.
Oh, it's true. It is. I mean, Garrett is really good at Warhammer modeling. Yep, they're the viewers. And I do some modeling myself. He actually taught me how to paint. So like, there's a particular understanding and philosophy behind like getting into miniature painting, and it can be daunting. You got to prime the thing. Priming it is always good. Using a good spray primer just to coat all the surfaces so the acrylic paint can have something.
So now they really are dropping.
Yeah, it's just going down. Let me say hi to Mrs. Good Stuff real quick before we get way off topic. We've also got Rich Ayala Roach Balls up in the chat. Can't wait to get that book either.
Oh yeah,
that book is going to be super good. I'm gonna get Sully, and I'm gonna get Tiger Blue, right? Yes. And I'm gonna have my anthropomorphic creatures duking it out in my living room. That's gonna be awesome.
Excellent.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, Mobig says B-Rose has tried oils, acrylics, watercolors. It all just ends up as grease paint.
It's true.
Chicken grease paint.
Some people do use oil paints on miniatures.
I've never seen that. That's a little terrifying, honestly.
You know why? Because you can smooth the color back and forth, and it gives you a lot of latitude. I've never done oils, so I'm afraid, but I know people do it. So.
Yeah, I mostly do acrylics. I'll use like a wash, and then I'll do like edge highlights. That's about the extent of my model painting, skill. I'm not very good. I'm just, an amateur at this stuff. I don't use like zenithal lighting techniques and stuff that like, a more experienced model painter will do. I do know the term because I have to endure my artist sitting next to me for hours on end talking to me about Warhammer.
Well, Garrett used to paint them for Games Workshop.
Yeah, he did.
To work
and he also did teach me, like I said, how to model. We got Joe Catapano in the chat. Speaking of a model that I will be painting up, I got that Star Circuit Light Cycle still in the box, waiting for an opportunity for me to sit down and really tackle that thing. And it's going to be dope. I have a couple of little ideas that I think Joe's really going to appreciate.
Yeah.
For what we do.
So just when I So I bought it. I just invested in a new printer that I'm going to get. I prepaid for it. So these are about as big as I can print right now. And so
that's
maybe
that's a nice size.
Yeah, but the new ones, they're going to be like 8 inches, 9 inches tall.
Oh, dude. Wow.
Yeah. And one of the reasons I wanted to do it was because okay, let's set aside the fact that I have to find the time to do it. Okay. But in a perfect world, I think CG needs cool stuff like that, where you could have your character and you have something on your desk that's 8 inches tall. Right. I think that's, I mean, because it would just something cool for all the fans to have.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people are taking the steps to innovate new ways to both market their brand, their IP, and give the fans something cool. Like you saw it with it's been the whole progression. It was bookmarks, it was stickers, it was magnets. Then people were doing acrylic standees. Then they started doing the little muscle buddies. Like I think Johnny Phantasm was one of the first ones. PGP was one of the first guys doing those little muscle men action figures, and then people started looking into doing like actual toys. There were the 3D sculpts like you're mentioning. We've got something in the works that I've talked about before. Our prototype is upstairs. it needs some changes, but you're absolutely right. I love to see people investing in their brand, pouring their money into the thing that they believe in and making the very best product possible and putting really cool stuff out there that the industry comics don't necessarily have. Like Maddie Fowler's got a Tiger Blue 3D sculpt that you can print. Does Marvel sell those, for every one of their titles? No, but that's the thing about creator-owned IP is we can afford, because it's ours, to put as much intention and thought into them as we want, to take them as far as we want. It's entirely up to us.
Joe Catapano says, "Bring it, Neff. I expect great things."
Dude, all I gotta say is decals. Okay, decals.
And Maddie Fowler says, "F bookmarks. They only do that."
I don't know, man. Stickers could stick the pages together. You wouldn't even be able to read the book.
There you go.
Snuggy's got something to say about this coming up, so we got to be sure to tune in to Lord Crackhead to hear more about what Snuggy's got. Is it? D-Wag's show, right? Yeah, it's D-Wag's doing the show. D-Wag, if you're still in the chat, let me know what's going on. I can't remember anymore.
Hi, Hockey.
Hey, Hockey, you find the hat yet?
We need to have a GoFundMe.
I'm expecting him to answer like he's here. He's still got to type. So what you were saying, Frank Miller played a big part in influencing your creative process and your inspiration behind taking up the mantle of a comic book creator. What other writers and artists inspire you? And are you more drawn to words, art, or audio visual in your case?
I'm definitely drawn to the artwork because it's a craft. So I'm into the craft, right? So I love Jim Lee, right? We all love Jim. I should say I love Jim Lee and Scott Williams together because I think they're the best team ever. Another artist I really love a lot is Steve McNiven, who did Old Man Logan.
Yep.
I love that style of I'm kind of a skinny line artist in a way, right? I like that. I don't do like cross hatching like David Finch, who I love also. Yeah, I mean, I love those guys. I love like the 80s guys like Bob Layton, who did Iron Man. I love that stuff. Mark Silvestri, obviously, one thing I like about Frank Miller is that he is a writer artist. Right. You get his vision when you get the book. And I respect all the artists in every way, but I like that fact that people have that you get this. This is Frank Miller. You get it,
Great Hat Caper coming soon.
Right. The Great Hat
What's
Caper.
Up, Colonel Crack? He says more cross-hatching.
What's up? What is up, Jeremy? I was actually just looking at McNiven. I'm going to share the screen real quick. So I see what Shadowpunk is talking about here. What Matt, I should say. I don't know if enough people use your real name.
No, it's stuck. People call me Shadowpunk now for some reason.
Yeah, that is just generally because you showed up as Shadowpunk, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm adding this to the stream. There we go. So this is just some McNiven stuff, right? And this is what you're talking about here is he does like these more skinny line style drawings, not a whole lot of hatching.
Right.
But you can also tell these are early lines. This is like the detail on like the tentacles isn't there. The detail on the armor still has to be processed more. So these are first drafts almost.
Yeah, but there you go.
There's a lot of cross hatching there, my dude, but that's texturing, right? And I don't even think that he did all that.
Look who inked it
on there, right?
Yeah, I mean, oh no, I guess okay. He's copying Stephen Platt.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so that is a homage cover. What's the cover that he's homaging? It's got to be a cover to Prophet, right? I don't know. I'm not sure, but yeah, look at that. That's some really good texture. Anyway, yeah, I had to look up McNiven when you said that because I was like, yeah, I know Old Man Logan. I wasn't super crazy about the art style in the run of Old Man Logan, but McNiven definitely has some really cool technique. Sorry, being so thick with Dar.
I don't know what that means.
That's okay.
I don't either.
It's okay. We forgive you.
It's a misspell.
That's above my head.
Yeah. Buddy was also weighing in on the bookmarks, and he says the Sins bookmark is also a decoder ring of sorts. It's a cipher to our words of creation language. So it's a multifunctional tool. But
do you have a Sins decoder sticker, buddy? That's what you got to look to there. Like something with like a secret message done in black light ink that you can only see, by holding up the bookmark and looking through it. I don't know.
Well, you know what? The cool idea right there is that what if your bookmark had a clue to the story? I love that. That's a cool idea, man.
Yeah. All right. I don't want to take up too much time here trying to talk about your background and everything, but Karen Nicole says these days everyone's got a side hustle. When you're not drawing awesome comics, animating 3D movies, and printing sick figures, how do you make that glop? You got a day job?
I do not have a day job. This is my job right now. I'm doing this 100%. Nice. I mean, I can always do freelance if I have to for other stuff, but at a certain point, I realized that I have to do this. I have to go 110%, right? Yep. I have to give everything I've possibly got to make this cool thing. Because this, I told family members of mine that I was doing this, and they're like, "You've always wanted to do that." I mean, there's no holding back. Okay. And so, by the way, it took me 4 years to make the animated movie that I made. So I'm 100% committed. Okay. There's no going back for me.
Yeah. That's a crazy, big commitment to a passion project a film like that. And I commend you for, we were saying before, going all in and devoting so much of yourself to doing it and to learning all of the stuff that you're going to need to learn in order to pull it off. You're going to be doing something, you're going to realize, crap, I don't know how to do that. I didn't know that was something that I needed to know. You're going to be learning that there's stuff you don't know, and then you're going to have to learn how to do those things that you don't know. You learn, you don't know, something, then you don't know it, then you got to know the thing you don't know.
With the knowing. Yeah, that's a lot of knowing.
Mine made sense. I don't know. We got Hex Allen in the chat. We also got Alejandro VS from Inkfinity Comics. Welcome, Ale. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I think you mentioned Jeremy. Yep, we got Jeremy in here. So,
well, the thing you just talked about, it applies to the artwork. It applies to all the techniques and the animation and everything. But it also applies to what you told me off camera about getting your book out. I mean, that's also just as important, obviously. And
that's the business side, marketing side, and that kind of stuff. That comes once you got the book made, though. All of this is really you investing yourself in making the thing, and then once you've got that, figuring out how to get it to people, make it, get it in their hands, make it famous, make it desirable, make it flashy, get people invested. That'll be the next thing on your plate, that you're going to have to figure out. Now, the one great thing, I mean, there's a lot of great things, let's be fair. I guess my favorite great thing about the network that we're all a part of is that there are people willing to help you at the drop of a hat, man. All you got to do is say, hey, I don't know how to do a thing. does anybody here have any advice, or can they help me?
Yeah.
And you'll get a bunch of people respond. Now,
Yep.
some people will say one thing, some people will say another, but at least you get a variety of answers that you can then weigh and see which one works best for you. And the thing that I like the most about it is these people have experience because they've done it themselves, you know? And we're all willing and excited to share that experience with each other and make our product, our projects even more successful. But
I was just say, Manny Fowler was jumping in and said, plus there's unknown.
That's what I was saying. And then you know what you didn't know, And then once you know what you didn't know, that you didn't know, then you have to learn the thing you didn't know.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then it becomes a known after that whole process.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's a unknown.
I'll say thank you, Mr. Rumsfeld.
Right.
And Roger Ryder says the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence.
True. Roger, thank you so much for tuning in. One of the first times I think I've seen you on this channel. Thank you.
Welcome.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. And we've also got Phoenix Animation.
Hey.
What's up, Brandon? Thank you so much for tuning in. And of course, El Padrino saying telling us what's really important. Yeah, Guerrero's gay.
Yeah, to make sure we didn't forget.
Yeah. Obviously. Neff got chicks on his teats. I do. And my shirt says, I love chicks.
And it's true in every sense of the word, because he loves animals. Like birds.
And chicks love me. So yeah, like you're it on this book, right? Like a truck driver or an actuary. Do you ever get lonely working in Dolomite, or are you satisfied knowing that no one's gonna fuck up what you're putting all your hard work and effort into?
I'm scared of the printing process because I'm afraid that when I finish everything to perfection, like we were talking off camera, that then I'm going to have these minor errors that get blown out of proportion when it prints. Right. So that's one concern I have.
Yep.
And,
physical proofs.
No, you'll get there. Yeah, we'll get there. I mean, anyone, honestly, I'm just going to, if he's still here, Joe Catapano will tell you pre-press is such a critical element of making these books. The reason Star Circuit looked as good as it did, and it was just so well received, is because Joe nitpicked the hell out of that book once he was done making it. He was double checking and triple checking his colors. He was, making sure all of his pages were formatted well for the physical construction of the book. And the reason it came across as a really professional quality product is because once the creative process was done and all of the writing and the art and all of that and the editing was done, he was like, okay, but we're not finished yet. There's a whole nother side to this thing.
Yeah.
And anyone who's made a book, will tell you that either they get that right or they get a book back and they're like, damn, if I had only ... If only I'd checked this thing, I would be happy.
So do you advise getting physical proofs before you go to press?
Absolutely.
100%.
Okay. We've done what, 3 physical proofs
we're
now?
waiting on our third one to come in. It was just printed. The first one.
So the reason that
all these flags are things that we
can't even see them all.
we missed in looking at the digital proof, because there's just something. I mean, one, your brain reads things differently, physical format versus digital, right? But then also, our comic book is oversized, and so we're looking at it on a screen, looking at details tiny, which probably would have been okay for a regular size comic book. And then we got it in the larger size, and we're like, oh no, those details, we can't fudge those background details. You really need to fill them in, and you can actually read what's on the patches where like you couldn't when it was on the screen. So those were like details that we went in and went back for. And then with our second proof that we got once we switched printers, which is actually upstairs, the seam was different. So the width on where it opens by the spine, like here,
it's not a quarter inch, which it is here.
Right.
It's something like 0.8 inches, which is over twice as big.
Right. So then we were losing stuff to the middle, so we had to reformat and switch to a new binding.
The book's 104 pages long.
108 now. We added 2 more pages.
Yeah, look at you guys.
Yeah.
So the book is 108 pages long. So we had to reformat every single page.
With the new,
which also meant that in adjusting the margins and adjusting the bleed, we had to be aware that there were details that we might be losing. So working within your margins and bleed is an important part for being a writer, because you can't take that stuff for granted. The safe zone is safe for a reason. Everything outside the safe zone is not safe.
Yeah.
You know, you
and
get
even
into
when you think like, oh, it's just slightly, I can cheat it, and you don't,
you're gonna lose.
You don't realize
you're gonna
how
lose
much
that
of
part
it.
of the
I mean,
page.
if you're doing a saddle stitch binding, it's slightly different. If you're doing perfect bound, especially for checking what you're losing,
spine will
binding,
definitely change things.
I would 100%
spine changes everything. Yeah.
Can I tell you what I did do?
Yeah.
So the printer that I'm using here is a local printer that I can go and talk to. And
That's
so
good.
they gave me templates, and they told me where their bleed was. So I've been sticking to those pretty good. You know, I mean,
Good.
but you know, there's always a surprise or anything like this, right?
So even with templates, there's still things that like once
just throw your guidelines on your pages when you're working in Illustrator or Photoshop or whatever. When they're telling you about the bleed, throw those guidelines in and make sure you know when you're working with the size of the canvas that you're on, that you cannot go beyond there, because that was actually one of the things that plagued Garrett when he was designing some of the pages that he did physically and then transposing those after photographing them into Photoshop, as he was not working with his guidelines. You know, he didn't put his little purple lines down on the canvas, so things were over and going into the bleed. Which is
why Neff is not a colorist. They're blue, not purple.
They're like neon pink.
They're not. They're not even a little bit.
Yeah, but apparently I speak truth.
You do, except for when it comes to color. In which case,
can I add this then? If you, so I'm still going to have a lot of work to do in the book. Do you have one thing I thought about is shrinking down my images, like 4 images on a page, and getting them to print one of those so I can see how my colors look when they're printed. Because my book has a lot of
colors are an entirely, another issue entirely. I'm going to tell you, your book looks like it'll print dark.
Yeah, I thought so.
Your book is very, very, it's dark. A lot of your colors have that very deep tone on them.
Yeah.
And the blue are kind of like you're working in contrasting colors, right? The blues and the reds.
Right.
And you're using black as, all right, I'm putting it up on the screen. And you're using black kind of as the, can you zoom in on thing? No. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. So down where it says boom, you're going to lose the bottom of the O's and the M.
Okay.
On the edge of the rock, you're not going to see that detail where it says WE something. That's going to be pretty much lost.
You think so?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's going to be there. It's not going to just be a black rock, but you're going to lose at a glance.
Look a little muddy.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to lose the at a glance noticing that that's the thing there. This is actually a pretty well lit page compared to some of the other stuff.
I love your I love it though. I love the look of it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I love the way that he does the overlapping panel edges, because it's still, maintaining clarity, but it's also giving us that little bit of stepping outside and being, a very a page that's very alive. So keep scrolling through, like there, on the bottom, the left side of the sky and the foreground on the bottom panel.
These are probably going to read more like silhouettes,
right?
Well, so if you squint your eyes, I kind of think that's kind of what you're describing, what you're going to get when you print.
Yeah.
Right. Because you see the darks get darker.
Yeah. The other thing though is I'm sorry. Here. The other thing though is that with the way that you're looking at digital and how it's backlit on the screen, like the color on, this is probably going to sound stupid and pedantic. Color on digital or color on a computer is entirely different than color on print, because color on print, you're actually mixing inks. Right?
Oh yeah, totally. Yep.
And so like you don't get the actual light going through the thing to make it brighter. You get, two pigments mixed together, and then the outside light hits that, and we're hoping that hue translates. So I mean,
Zaid says Bancroft presses that print is darker. The real reason is RGB versus
CMYK,
CMYK, positive and
versus
negative light.
And that everyone jokes about K values, right? Your book's going to have a lot of K value to it because the backgrounds are black, like, so everything's hovering off of that, or hinging off of that dark value. I don't think you're going to have a problem if you pay attention to it. I think it'll look great. Yeah. It's just if you don't know that that's something that you have to be aware of going into it, you're either going to have to delay printing by getting multiple proofs and working on your colors, or you're going to print the book and go, well, crap, I didn't think about having to check my colors. And I'm going to print 1,000 issues and then there's no going back and fixing that.
Well, let me ask you this:
like a little test print of like a couple of pages. I wouldn't necessarily shrink them down so they're all in.
You want to see the detail.
But especially since you're working with a local print shop, whatever pages you have, even if it's like 12 pages,
do a preview comic.
Yeah, as like a little teaser or something like that. Print off a couple of them, and you could always raffle them off as like, when I hit X backers or something like that, or like throw it in to somewhere as like an extra bonus of, okay, now I have these, what do I do with them? Just print off a couple of them just so you can see for yourself, like, am I happy with this? Do I need to adjust anything? Is it too dark? Is it reading muddy?
I guess my question also, and you can't really answer it, is how much that's going to cost to do a test.
Yeah, it's entirely dependent upon your printer and what kind of services
and how many you order too. When we did ours, we did 100 of them, and they wound up being like $1.07 per.
Hockey sums it up perfectly. Printers, like paint, when you add colors together, get darker. Yep. And Buddy is correct. He says, ask Xevious and Bancroft. I don't know where the comment went, but together between them, they've got 50 years worth of experience. When you're going from digital, like, Jeremy said, RGB, to going to CMYK, which is physical print. You probably know what I'm talking about too. Sure. But if you just want someone to look at it and go, yeah, you're a little dark, trust the experts, the guys who have
as I've been making the pages and doing all the art, I have been thinking, I've been concerned about that. Will the digital look like the print? I've always thought it might look darker anyway. So I'm already on the radar for that one, and I'm gonna head it off before it becomes a problem.
Hey, what's up, Arvid? How's it going? Also, Ale said that this is very interesting to him. I hope he means that and isn't being sarcastic. Ale can be a little bit sarcastic. It's one of the things I really like about him, but at the same time, this is an important part of a conversation for a new creator.
It really is important, right? It really, I mean, why make a book and then it comes out the wrong way?
That's one of the things that we want to stop happening, because we get attacked for two different things, right? Low quality and late books. Those are the two things that when people are out there, when people out there are criticizing indie comic creators, they say you're low quality, you're not like the iconic guys, and you've got late books. You're not reliable in delivering on time. And for me, any network I'm a part of is going to start being free of those issues plaguing them. Because, I don't like joining clubs or whatever, but any association I have, we're going to be the very best we can be. So reaching out to someone being like, hey, bro, have you considered these things? Have you checked those things? That helps elevate the product. And then, of course, that means I have to elevate mine. And then suddenly all those people out there who've been talking shit can't talk shit anymore. If we just let other people around us not succeed, then we're giving those people who criticize us a chance to win. We're giving them the opportunity to say, see, look, that thing isn't as good as it could have been. And you're going to be kicking yourself because you knew that it could have been better and you didn't do anything about it. So almost in a way, you're complacent. Right. Or complicit or whatever.
Well, but on another note, you can also say helping each other is a positive thing. Forget about what they say. For example, if your book sells great, everybody kind of benefits from your book being great, because
it does. I just don't want my book to be great because your book isn't as great as mine, or isn't as great as your book could have been. I don't want you to suffer from. I don't want you to suffer from a quality issue that could have been avoided because I didn't say something.
Sure.
That
Yeah,
for me, it feels not only like a dick thing to
not
do,
like
but
you
anyone,
personally, you like
No,
the
yeah, I
general-
get it.
a individual feels like a dick thing for any of us to do, because it's like looking at that person. Well, I can tell that person's going to have an issue, but I'm not going to say anything. Why? You're giving everyone who criticizes us for not having quality books the right. You're putting them in the right. You're validating what they're saying. What?
Your phone is ringing.
Oh, look, it's Odin. Of course, it's
Odin.
Yeah,
Mike
it's Mike
Odin
It's Mike
interrupting our stream.
Well, the thing is, though, can I say what you just described? Yeah, that's my face. Sometimes people won't take it the right way. And now you're the jerk, right? Who said the colors are dark or something. And it's maybe when I was 25 or 30, I would have said, screw you, man. I'll do it my way. But now I'm old enough to know that I don't know.
Right. That's you're absolutely right. You also have to think about who you're telling it to. Some people are willing to hear it because they want to make the very best thing, and they don't have the ego standing in the way because they know this is their first book, or this is their, second outing, and they know that they don't already know everything. Right. There's more to learn. So I will definitely take education wherever I can. Y'all giving it to me for free. You guys are all the best teachers. I've learned everything I know about comic books and comic book publishing from watching you guys. I didn't know any of this going into it. So the reason my book is where it's at is because I absorbed all of the information that was being put out from everyone out there. And, I think we did a pretty good job on our book. So I'm confident saying that you guys are great teachers. Yeah. It's just that I didn't have an ego out there in front of me going, well, I know better. Or, well, how dare this person tell me that, my margins are too narrow. What do they know? No, consider it, consider, well, what if they're right? What do I need to do to fix it if they're right? And if you can solve those problems, like you said, problems that we don't know, then you're not going to suffer the consequences of it. So,
well, we were talking earlier about mistakes and failures or whatever. My name is spelled wrong right there. Oh yeah. If you've made mistakes in your life,
is it spelled wrong?
Chemo said Neff is a jerk. Matt Simecek, 2022.
I was like, did we spell his name wrong?
No. He left out an E.
I know what it's like to fail and make mistakes, right? So if you know that now, and you're in a position where you can do something about it, right? It makes a big difference. It's worth taking people's advice, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So we got Frog with us now. Thank you so much, Master Frog. We got Oz, Great Sage. Oz, great to see you, buddy. Thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, we've got Chemo telling, citing the quote. Now it is a matter of record, right? I am a jerk. We got the ape. What is good? Chemo, Oz, Great Sage, Frog, Zaid, Bow. Yeah, 2 E's. Yes.
And Lobig said Adam Post would definitely tell you that your margins are too narrow.
Yes, that's true. Talking about margins, that's something we were talking about in the back room.
Yeah.
Crowdfunding isn't where you're making money. It shouldn't be. It should not be where you're looking to make your money. You should be looking to make your money after crowdfunding. You should be giving these people first crack at something that they're helping bring to life with you. You should be discounting the cover price of your book by a certain margin so that they're getting it cheaper than the people out in the wild will get it. You want to do a 20% off is probably like I wouldn't go deeper than 20%. 15% is okay, but you want to be showing them, hey, I value your patronage. I'm going to give you the thing that everyone else is going to get, but I'm going to give it to you for less. And you're going to get all these cool stretch goal goodies that no one else is going to get.
Right.
And you're going to get those for free, because if you do stretch goals, those are other things you can sell out in the wild and charge people for the stuff that all your backers got for free. And then those people go, well, goddamn, you got the book and all this stuff for $20. Where the hell was I? And I'll say, you weren't on the sign-up list.
Yeah, and if you sign up for the sign-up list, which the link is in the chat, Frog G dropped it. It's also in the description. If you sign up for it, you will get an exclusive Shadowpunk trading card on your back.
So what you just described right there about is really, it's amazing, because I did think that the money is in the crowdfunding. And now I'm thinking, I am going to overprint my run of the comics.
Absolutely overprint
the cards. Yeah. Overprint, all that stuff, the figures I'm making. I'm going to make more.
Especially printer is going to give you a better value or a better deal incrementally. Like once you go from 500 to 1,000, he knocks down the price per unit, the PPU, by like 30 cents. You wound up getting a better deal in the long run printing those because you know you're going to sell all of them. So now you're making a 30-cent profit on each and every one of them that you weren't making before. And you wouldn't have had enough to sell because now you're selling, you're overprinting to sell later at a higher cost than you were when you were selling it on the campaign.
But there's one caveat there though. You're assuming the fact that you will sell these at conventions and whatnot.
But that's the thing. But that's the thing. You have to. There is there is no, oh, I guess I'm not selling my books today. No, it's the same as, oh, I guess I'm not making my comic today. Or, you know what? I guess I'm not putting 4 years into my movie. Right. If you can put the time into making the movie to the point where you know the quality is good enough that people will buy it, there is no reason you should not be selling that book. Right. Now, I understand that there are skill sets that people have. Some people may be like, I'm a great writer, but I suck at drawing, so I know my limitations. You might say to yourself, I'm not a salesperson. Well, you know what you need? You know what you need? Yeah, you always be shilling, absolutely. But you also need the salesperson. You're going to need a partner to team up with, you know, who's not just a hype man like D-Wag, incredible hype man, but someone who can also put the book in someone's hand and get them to hand them money in return. You need someone that can close the sale. You know what I mean?
You know how some people on CG are creators and some people are they have channels, other people, right? And so both those people fulfill like a really important role. And the thing you're describing is if there's people out there who aren't artists who could help us market stuff, they can get a percentage of what they sell or whatever it is, right? I mean, I think that would be invaluable. It's a win-win, right?
We've also been talking to some people where it's not even about getting, I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's win-win if you're talking about making money, but at the level we're dealing with right now, like what we had 400 backers on Indiegogo and what, like, almost, and like 80 something backers on Kickstarter. So like just around 500, that's not making me money. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I'm making money when I have 10,000 customers, 100,000 customers.
Yeah, well,
but that's no, when I'm talking about money, I'm talking about you're making money. This thing has finally made it. It's really starting to rack up the cash. That's when a 5 to 10% cut of the total sales amounts to more than just a morsel for a partner who's selling. You've got a hot IP, you know, you're Jamie Tyndall, you're Billy Tucci, you're Jimmy Palmiotti. You're a guy who's selling lots of books, and a partner who's helping you sell them, who's getting a percentage. They're actually incentivized to do it because it's amounting to more than $75.
Right.
So I'm saying let's not even worry about revenue splits yet. Let's just try and get books into each other's hands. You know, like I offered to a couple of my friends, hey, we're going to conventions. If you want, send me 10 copies of your book or whatever, and I'll sell them. And I'll just send you the cash, because it's not even about the money at this point. It's about now you got 5 more customers today than you had yesterday. And those customers might be telling their friends and coming to your sign-up list, because early on, it's just about sales and customers, not about revenue.
Yeah, it's good about getting the books in hand.
Wow.
Right. Most said it best. He said, you know, like, it's like selling crack, right? You try and give them the first one at a discounted price, or you take that loss up front, right? First it's free, but you get them as a lifelong customer after that, because you take care of them really well on the campaigns. When they're coming to you and they're giving you money to make the book, they know that they're getting the book cheaper and they're getting good things from you, and they bought the last book at full price. So God, of course they want this one cheaper with all of the trimmings.
So does it help in your mind and your experience? The second book is going to make you more money than the first book?
No, absolutely, Chemo. You know, we already agreed on doing that. Yeah. I was even thinking, like, at some point, because international shipping is shit the way that it is, we could start figuring out a domestic shipping or a domestic printing operation.
Yeah.
If Company Men is selling well enough in the States, let's just print it here.
Yeah, and
you
we can
know,
ship it,
and
however you wanna do
we'll
it.
sell it at conventions.
Yeah.
Like this
That's
is the
cool.
thing. We have a
Ship it,
network.
sell it.
We have a group of people that are all willing and interested and excited to work together, which is something that corporations and industry publishers do not have. They don't. They have to fight for their own market share against all of their competitors to try and get that come up. IDW had to figure out international distribution without Marvel's help. You know, they had to go to Diamond or whatever, and Diamond cut them a deal, and they had to pay X so much. But we don't have Diamond. We don't have to worry about Diamond. We may never need to worry about Diamond. We only have each other to rely on.
Sure.
So let's do it. We got Armin. What's up? I'm going to SuperCon in July to get out of the Northeast marketplace and reach new audiences in Southern Florida. That's what I'm talking about. Once again, MegaCon coming up next year. MegaCon Florida, great place to go because it is gigantic. It's a 4-day convention. I'm hearing, like we were talking backstage, a lot of people might be going to meet up down there, but also just a great place in general to pop up a table and sell your books. You know, getting out there and getting your books into people's hands is the best way to grow the brand, generate interest, but also make those aftermarket sales. Because at the end of the day, I guess I can just skip to the end of the interview. What do you want to do with Shadowpunk? Do you want it to be a comic series? Do you want it to be a movie? Do you want it to have an animated series? Or, you know, what are your plans? Your long-term plans?
Short term, it is to make a continuous series. Long term, you know, that's kind of pie in the sky in my mind. I mean, I love all those ideas, but I think I love the idea of just issue number 1, issue number 2. I want a story that people care about, and I want people to be invested in Shadowpunk, the girl, my hero. So that's, to me, that's my biggest thing is just getting that story going. And it's my first time, you know, so the whole thing is a huge learning curve for me.
Yeah. So I'm fighting with my mouse on these things. So you want it to be an ongoing series. Would there be a way, since you're already doing the mixed media thing, comic book and film, to work the two of them together? I remember when you showed, I'm derailing myself, I'll get back to it in a second. I remember when you showed this image on B Rose's stream the night that I was washing my cat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Like
I was actually washing the cat. It's not even yet. And I remember I wasn't able to, I need to zoom in on it. I wasn't able to really get a very good look at this image because I was like, where's the perspective lines here? How is he doing this? And then like I managed to pause it and like go and look it up on my computer while my cat was in the bathroom screaming at me for me to come back. And I really got to looking here and I was like, this is a really what?
Just keep going.
This is a really cool setup that you've done for this particular image, and I really like the way that Shadowpunk is perched. Now, you studied, you know, at what CCS,
right?
A way to sum up a product in one image. That's what you're doing here. This thing right here tells the story.
That you might be right. I mean, I didn't think it through like that. I'm out to make cool images for people to grasp onto to tell a story. When I was trying to making promotional images, I was doing the thing kind of you described, like how do I convey what the world's about, what she's about in one image, you know? And I was at the same time I was coming up with my color style, you know.
Thanks, Armin. I appreciate that. Appreciate that a lot. And Neff asking the tough questions. Do you want this to be a movie? You know, the thing that's already a movie. Do you want it to be a movie? No. Before I started talking about that image and washing my cat, I said earlier, you're already doing the mixed media thing, right?
Yeah.
You've got a 3D movie, you've got the comic book, and you've got merchandise, you know, that you're going to be able to put out there. Is there a way for you to integrate the comic book and the 3D film in a way where you're putting out a more unique product that kind of marries the two, so you can capitalize on both sides of this.
Yes,
equation.
there is. It's a good question, because I've thought about it on and off for all last year, right? I think the way to do it, okay, when you're making the comic books, selling the comic books, getting it out there, and then creating 3D animations of the girl in short, quick animations, 4 or 5 seconds, right? In like scenarios like the one you just talked about with the guy with the swords, right? Use those as like, make animations as promo pieces, you know, something like this where you could have her flying down at the camera, you know, to something that could engage the viewer, right? I think that's because I think if you go farther than that, if you try to make like a 30-second, even like a 30-second animation, you're going to be putting in so much work. It's the 3D side is so extensive, and you can't do both unless if it's just one person like me. So you've got to find a way to pick your battles, I think. But yeah, I mean, if I had a pie in the sky, like a projection is where I wanted Shadowpunk to go, is I would like it to be an animated movie, right?
Yeah.
I would like to be like a dark Pixar movie. For
a dark Pixar movie, I could see that.
Yeah.
So you know what you need? You need sound engineering now. If you want it to be like Pixar, you're going to need somebody who can score really well, because what Pixar has that other films don't is the music. They can set up an emotional situation, like a scene with the writing. They can have the art very evocative, and then they hit you with a tone, a vibration, and you just start weeping. It's science to them. Literally have broken it down into a formula by which you can make your audience cry. So you're going to need a sound engineer, someone who can compose and make music for you for your animated film. That's the next thing that you need.
It's a great idea, you know, and it goes back to how many hours are there in a day, right? I mean, I think for me, I love all the mediums. I think they're all equally cool. I'm focused on the comic book now, but I think it's cool to think about that for the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Crowfire Studio said, please make some prints of these images, Matt. They would look great on a wall.
Phoenix is in the chat.
Thank you.
Especially, like metal versions.
Oh, yeah.
Phoenix is in the chat.
Yeah.
Yep, he's right there.
Cool.
I talked to Phoenix about that. He gave me a good price on that, but there's so much to figure out about launch on the Indiegogo page, how to figure all that out.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm completely like starting to figure that out. So I'm trying to keep it simple my first time out. And I might do the metal prints.
The opposite of what we did. Yeah.
Well, but your experience,
did you see my campaign?
Well, Mavericks was our
first.
That was
our first. Yeah, but our first go at it. That was a lot.
We also are a team of 3.
Yeah, we are also.
So it's not like we did.
But no, I suggest keeping it simple and offering some really cool perks and trying to go in a memorable way. Like I don't want to speak ill of anyone, but when you do a campaign with a campaign page that doesn't have a graphic forward look where it's just a whole lot of text and your stretch goals feel kind of uninspired because there's stuff that we give out for free for signing up to our campaigns, it makes me disinclined to want to get involved in crowdfunding it. You know what? I'll just wait for it when it comes out later. I don't need to pay for this thing ahead of time and wait with anticipation to get it. I'll just buy it when it's available once it's out, and I can just instantly gratify myself reading it. The extra $3 that I'm going to pay for that book because you've discounted it 12% isn't really going to make or break me. It's there's no incentive here. What were you going to say?
Can I tell you what I am doing?
So that's one of the questions in here. What are you doing for the campaign?
So as of right now, I'm doing the comic book. I'm doing the painted figure, right? And then I'm doing a t-shirt. And then I'm going to figure out my stretch goals. And I'm trying not to make it more complicated than that because it's my first time around.
So I would suggest, just take it from where it comes. The t-shirt is an idea that you can offer, but t-shirts, no matter what you're doing, they're expensive to make. If you're getting them off Printful, you can probably weigh in on this more than I can because you do most of the merchandising.
Yeah, it depends on where you order them and if you're going to order them in bulk or not.
So I found a place that gave me a really good price.
Okay.
And I'm wearing the t-shirt right now. And I can make money off of it. So
Good. As
I
long as you figured out the
This
shipping
one, right?
so that you can ship, if you're shipping the book with the shirt and the whole package.
I'm not.
Okay, so
separate.
We did ours as an add-on,
Yeah.
so it had its own shipping,
its own
and
shipping
it shipped
information.
separately.
Rather than
And
doing it as a tier.
That worked really well. Yeah.
Advertise it on the page, let people know it's there. And of course, when they go to check out, they see that it's an add-on, has its own shipping information, and it will be sent on its own. I love having a t-shirt because wearing your branding is great. I almost wore my Mavericks t-shirt today, but I was like, nah, let's go with orange.
Chicks.
Yeah, chicks. Well, I mean, you're also black and red, and the t-shirt that we have is black and red. I don't want to step on anyone's toes.
Oh, no, that would have been cool.
Is this the?
That's the 3D figure.
That's the 3D figure, right?
Yeah,
right.
And you can. There's a version that spins around.
Yeah, it's not letting me load it, which is why I went to his Instagram.
I love the pose, and there's actually that's after the artwork on one of the pages. If you go back and you show the earlier images that we had, there's one where Shadowpunk is kind of leaning back, just like that, with her fists.
So I changed this is I changed the final figure, so it's actually the base is different now. It's more dynamic.
Okay,
and then
good.
I didn't include the stars because they break when you print them. Right?
Yeah.
So I didn't want to have that problem and people saying, "Hey, it broke,"
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, are you printing resin? Because no matter
Yes.
what happens, any of the fine details on fine cast or resin, those are going to break. Like, I'm surprised that you're tackling whiskers. You know what I mean? Like any of the fit on the Tiger Blue. Any of the little.
Yeah, I actually took those out.
Yeah, any of the fiddly little
reason.
details, they're just going to be a nightmare to have to deal with because either they come off when you're removing the scaffolding, or when they get to the person pushes too hard on that brush, pop off come the whiskers, and you can't reattach those.
Right.
You can pin something like an arm or a leg. You drill in, you add your little pin, and you can reattach it. But you can't pin something that's tiny like whiskers or antennas or anything like that. You got to be aware of all those things.
When I was talking to Fowler about making the figure, him and I talked about that very issue. I said, we don't want to have something that's so breakable that when people get it. So we made the decision early on to say no whiskers, but there is a lot of hair on the figure.
Yeah. Fur,
right.
Yeah.
So the fur and everything. So there's tons of detail, but
yeah, you can get a wash to really have the recesses go darker on it. I mean, honestly,
Right.
washes are great because they settle in those crevices,
Right.
and they sit and they just make the shadow there. And then of course you just go over the top again to do that upper layer highlight, and everything pops and looks like it's got volume. We could talk about figures, you and I, for forever. Right?
When I make the figures, I actually make them so that happens when you paint. Because I make the details more exaggerated, the crevices a little bit deeper, so that factor. Because I painted my own forever, and I ran into that. So
I got a question: why crowdfund a book now? We're all like, oh well, if not now, then when? But like, why now? Is there a strategy for your release? I'm asking because a lot of us are starting to consider staggering launches more, or using that calendar on the CG Now website that Bancroft put together and maintains out of the goodness of his Aussie heart, to kind of strategize how we are releasing our products.
Okay.
So why June 18th?
It's not that scientific. I didn't think it through in that aspect. I was going to launch in February, and nobody knew who I was. Right.
Gotcha. Oh yeah, I remember. And then we were like, don't do that. Hang out with us for a while.
So I put it off for long enough, and I was like, if I don't set a date as a goal for myself, I will flounder. I'll never get the thing done. Right. Maybe I won't even launch for another year. Right. in my mind, I've got to literally push myself to put a date on the board and say I'm doing that date. That's why. So, and I think in the grand scheme of my project, I have to do it that way. So in terms of your point of view about being more strategic about it, that's probably more logical. I didn't think it through to that degree. So
yeah, I mean, and none of us do. None of us realize that we have to until we realize that we have to. We go, oh crap, look at the calendar. I remember when I had figured out when I wanted to launch Mavericks, and Art T Bear was like, and we're launching Black and White. And I was like, well,
7 days. It was not even a week. It was like 3 days before we launched or something like that.
So we delayed. So we were like, you know what? Time out. We're not doing it now. We're going to let Art T have 3 weeks so that come the end of the Black and White campaign, he'll get his final push, but we'll pop off in our first week, and then we'll have the long haul. So if you go back in time and you look at when he launched Black and White and when we launched ours, like you can see that we didn't want to, it's not that we didn't want to step on toes. We didn't want to compromise our bottom line by having backers have to choose between backing an established creator with an IP from the 90s that looks like it was done in the 90s and a brand new IP from an unproven creator who's first out the gate.
Okay.
And I still needed to bring in money. You know what I mean? I needed to really hit high numbers. I needed to get a high number of backers to show proof of concept here. Now, for a lot of people, it's not the same way. For a lot of people, it's, I just want to make my book. I want to get 1,000 copies printed, fulfill, and then be on my way to making money in the aftermarket. I have a little bit of a different thing going on in addition to let's make the book and then bring the book to the aftermarket and find new readers. So for me, I realized, oh crap, I have to be strategic about this. You've got Ken Rocafort launching Groken 2 on June 15th.
Oh, okay.
So that is one thing that would have me aware of the fact that you're going to have to be going to places and getting on shows and stuff where Groken isn't, because I mean, I think everybody's going to blow their paycheck on Groken for the first week. And then, you've got 3, you're running concurrently alongside him parallel. Right. So don't be discouraged if you don't get absolutely as many backers the first night as you want. You're launching on a Saturday, right? And he's launching on a Wednesday or a Thursday.
And he's launching on Bancroft.
And he's launching on Bancroft. So be aware. Well, I mean, obviously, you got to launch Groken on Bancroft, right? It's going to be one of the biggest Bancroft bumps ever. Launching on Bancroft. So obviously, you're going to get support from that chat. Bancroft's got one of the best, most supportive chats in in CG right now. With people who want to see new creators succeed. But like I was saying, it does become a question of who's able to spend what money on what, because it's Indiegogo. It's charged right away. Kickstarter has, the whole we'll charge you later. So you do get a lot of people going, oh, I'll back this, I'll back this, I'll back this, I'll back this, and then realize, oh, well, I can't afford all these things. I'm going to take my pledges back. That happens a lot on Kickstarter.
We just saw that happen to a friend of ours. They lost like $1,000 like that because someone had a big pledge and then canceled it.
Instead, that means what you see on Indiegogo is people don't pledge. They don't have the money to pledge, so they'll wait. It's like, oh, I'm spending the disposable income I have on this paycheck on this project. Now I have to wait 2 weeks to get my paycheck.
Right.
So I'll back it then. And let's pray to God that in those 2 weeks, EVS doesn't launch Cyberfrog. You know what I mean? Because it's like you're trying to find your little.
There's no way, your points are actually really good points. There's no way for me to control what EVS or Rocafort or Frank Miller does tomorrow, right? I mean, it's almost like you gotta put your best foot forward, I think you're
absolutely right.
And I don't know how else to really go about that, unless I can call Kenneth on the phone and say, "Can you wait a week?"
No, I mean, honestly, that's you can't ever, and it happened to us with Art T Bear. You can't ever really know what everyone else is going to do.
Yeah.
When it shows up on the calendar, be looking months ahead and planning your launch. This is why I asked why June 18th.
Right,
why did you pick that date? And you said there wasn't any sort of strategery to it.
Right.
Looking at right now at the calendar that Bancroft maintains, there's nothing past August. So September would be available. But look at the calendar. That's what I'm saying. If everything's going up on the calendar, look at the calendar to plan your launch. Go, oh, you know what? I'm going to take the first week in August because there was something third week in June. And if anyone tries to pack in fourth week in June between then and my launch, they're compromising their position because Kami Mark is launching that week. Then what are you going to do? Try and get overlapped by Kami and me? But, stake your claim, find your spot.
Well, and it's hard as a first-time creator because if I had like multiple books under my belt that were successful, and then people would work around my schedule, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we gotta be hungry and figure out how to try and scurry around theirs. Arvid makes a good point. He says maybe launching is like investing or buying a house. There's never a perfect time. It's true, but there are times when it's a buyer's market and there are times when it's a seller's market. And it's fairly easy to detect whether or not interest rates are up or interest rates are down. And you can be inclined to launch on one or the other. All I'm saying is the awareness of what else is out there in the field is going to help you be a more successful crowdfunder. And once again, it's not about making money on the crowdfunding. It's just about getting the book out there, right?
I will say, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, Bancroft said that Kenneth may not even be launching on a stream. He's not sure. He said he's the OG ninja. So you could have that.
So you will have you'll have the public spotlight.
Well, I think all the things you say are so insightful. I'm going to be honest with you. Working on the book and doing the sculpts and doing all the stuff I'm doing is so time consuming.
Yeah.
That I'm then getting my word out on Twitter, for example, that's a lot of work too.
Dude, network on social media, having to post all things, going on these freaking shows, right?
Right.
No, I hear you, which is one more reason that I'll come back to it and say, like, since we're all kind of helping each other out, it's stuff that I would throw out there and be like, bro, if you're going to launch, have you thought about this? Or, hey, you need hype. Have you, you got the same 100 behind you. Like, you got people tweeting out for you. You got your campaigns coming up. Have you planned any sort of collaborations with people who are also in, within that launch window? And it's exhausting. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not trying to tell you there's all these other things that you have to do.
Sure.
I'm trying to tell you there's all these other, we both know that these things have to be done, right? And there's other ways to do them. Work smarter, not harder. Strong alone, stronger together.
Totally. 100%. I mean, I think everything you say makes sense, man. I mean, I'm totally. So
yeah. No, and I gotta say, like, out of all of the first time creators that I've seen, yours is probably the most ambitious project, in that you're offering the most. You're offering a 3D film, right? You're doing a movie, and you're doing a comic, and you're doing your own merchandise and stuff, which we know is going to be 3D sculpts because you've done the Tiger Blue one. You did another one too, if I'm not mistaken.
I did Tiger Blue. I did Gem Shock. As far as figures, and then I actually made Cyberfrog, Salamandroid, and Godlike.
Right, Godlike. Yeah, that was the one that I remember seeing all painted up. So, like, right there, that's proof of concept that you're going to be able to put out some really sick 3D sculpts in the future. We can all expect one. You have one for Shadowpunk. We're clearly going to be seeing that, on the campaign. So there's these 3 different areas where you're already putting yourself, situating yourself out there in the spotlight, saying, I can do these things, and I'm offering them to you on my campaign. So, it's fully comprehensive.
So one of the reasons I did, so on my Twitter page, I've been giving away free figures, like you said, like painted. And one of the reasons I did that also, not only to get the word out, but was to show people that I can finish a project, right, and sell it and get it in people's hands. It's like a mini version of the comic book, maybe.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, because I'm first timer, nobody knows, so.
Well, yeah,
everyone has been talking about how they're really excited. Like you're showing
That's the other reason, though. That's the other reason we say don't launch right away. Give us 6 months to get to know you.
Right.
Hang out with us. Right. Because you're a new creator. Nobody knows you, except now they do. You've been saying fun stuff in the chat. You're showing up on shows, hanging out. You're not super shilling your book. You're just, becoming one of the people that you see around. And then, oh wait, we know Shadowpunk. And then they do know you. Yeah. And then all of the people that know you who are excited by your project are telling everyone else that they know.
Yeah, Raiden Radio said, looking forward to Shadowpunk. The amount of effort and skill is apparent and impressive.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
So you've been getting comments like that in the chat the whole time.
Yeah, I've been ignoring them.
People are excited.
When I initially got the advice from all the CG people like you guys, I had to cool my jets. And I was like, I was kind of deflated. I was like, but it does make sense. And I
remember that stream.
I would be a fool not to. And not
listen to them.
So yeah, it was definitely worth doing.
I gotta ask you why. Was there a particular reason? Another thing in here is with the why crowdfunding is what attracted you to crowdfunding and Indiegogo in particular. Were you watching, because you mentioned you'd seen Ethan's streams a while back. Were you planning to kind of go this route since the inception, or was this something you picked up on as you were looking to make a comic? Because you've been working on this thing for 4 years,
So when I finished the animated movie, I ended up I was going to get a job in animation, right? And that's why I did the animated movie as like a sort of a portfolio piece to get a job. But the world turned upside down, and I ended up realizing that I'm not going to be going anywhere anytime soon, right? So I said, well, what can I do? And my friend told me, like I said, you've always wanted to do one. And I said, well, I haven't drawn in a long time. He goes, I haven't either, but he already ramped up and doing his own projects. He goes, you remember, and I did, but it took a while to ramp up. But it seems so natural for me to make a comic book. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I'm probably just like you guys, where I'm like, it's something we've always loved. It's a medium that makes sense to us, and it just makes sense. So yeah.
What was I going to say? I lost.
Armin said, yes, didn't know who Shadowpunk was. Hear him all the time from B-Rose and others. Now, after the Neff nudge, I'll back his book no matter the date he launches. And that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Armin. And Zayd Studio says, show my praise to Shadow. I need 3D sculpts later. Ha ha ha. And it's true. He's going to want to have someone sculpting his characters in his book.
See? Shadow, you were killing it, dude.
Yeah. And I got to say, you're undaunted too. And that's exciting for me to see in a creator, because you're listening to what people have to say and you're applying it and you're making it yours. When we first came out the gate and we got a lot of feedback and a lot of criticism, it was a matter of, well, let's not have an ego. Let's hear what they have to say, because they've been doing it longer. They've been, they are the customers. Let's make it part of what we do. And I'm really happy to see someone else like that who really wants to see their thing work and appeal. Yeah. And so you're taking those things to heart. Like you said, cooling your jets, that's not easy, man. Like you want to go, you want to get that thing out there. You're super excited to show it to everyone. And then you got to wait for 6 months. What?
Well, what was I going to tell you? I forget. But anyway, it was definitely not easy to do. Especially like when you're working on a creative project, you need momentum to get it done. Right. It's a challenge. So cooling my jets was difficult, but that's the other thing. So the one advice I have not taken to heart, not because I don't think it makes sense, it's because I can't do it, was start my own YouTube channel.
Yeah. It's not easy either.
It's too much work. It's so much work, right? I mean,
it's too much work.
You guys have a great like tag team thing going on, which I love about your show. And it makes your show unique. But I can't do that and make the comic book and do everything else, right? At least not now. True.
Yeah, but that's actually part of why Garrett isn't here, because originally it was Neff and Garrett, and I was just a disembodied voice from the sidelines.
I think I remember that actually.
Yeah. But then especially once Garrett got into switching to the physical pages for the last section of the book.
Yeah, he couldn't draw.
He couldn't do that on stream, and it was just too much, because he'd be in the groove and working, and then it was okay, now you have to stop and stream with us. And then when he'd get done streaming, he's it's hard to get back into the groove that I was in.
Okay. Matty Fowler's got his number. No, Fowler's got your number, man. Animated a whole movie, but YouTube is too much work.
Okay, he makes a point. Okay, but I don't know how to get out of this one.
I understand. It took you 4 years.
He makes a good point.
Took you 4 years to do the movie. You know, we can't have you waiting 4 years to do YouTube. No, I hear what you're saying. I saw you on Telepathic Bunny earlier today, though.
Yeah,
and you were great on that show, just having a good time. So you don't necessarily have to have a channel if you're going out there and showing up on other people's shows.
True.
It's great to have a home base where you can have an audience that's sub to you that gets notifications when you're live or whatever, or at least a place for you to put up time-lapse videos and stuff like that. Hey, what is up, Shelby? Thank you so much for tuning in. But as long as you're out there interacting on YouTube, I think that's probably good enough. Like you said, though, that's also more work, and you're doing all of it yourself.
That's
when
true.
You're running a team, it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to. I like the idea. I've been on Cooper's show a bunch of times, Telepathic Bunny, and I like, you find people that you get along with really well, and you click. I click with him pretty good. I click with everybody, but I click with him in a certain way. Yeah.
Michael Bancroft says, it can take a long time, but it's the best possible investment of your time if you can figure out how to make a YouTube channel work. And he's absolutely right. He's also living proof. I mean, I remember, what's he up to now in subs? He's up to something ridiculous. I remember when Bancroft was like gunning to break 1,000. And he's just like doubled easily since then, and he's been meteoric. I remember when he got his
3.19 thousand.
Yeah, 3.19 thousand subscribers. I remember when we were trying to break 1. So he's right. He's tripled since then. That's fantastic.
So let me ask you this then. If you're gonna run your YouTube channel, you do have to have something to attract people, right? I mean, Bancroft is pretty good at entertaining people and keeping his he's almost like a DJ a little bit, right? He's really good at doing that. I mean,
I don't want to stroke the man's ego. I do not want to stroke the man's ego. Bancroft, I need you to do some earmuffs for a second. The man's the future. He's the future of CG. He is the future. He is the support, the encouragement, the guidance. His show is a meeting place for people who want to make good comics, support each other. It's always productive. Now, that's not to say he doesn't have fun and mock or
stroke it, he says.
God damn it.
Stroke it. Keep going. Don't stop.
It's not to say he doesn't like mock stuff and make fun of the dumb shit that's out there, because every once in a while we need to do that. But the majority of Bancroft's content is very positive and productive, which is why I say he's the future, which is also why I'm willing to throw money at the guy to get him here to the States to
totally
have him come to a Comic-Con.
Yeah.
I thought B-Rose was the future. No.
B-Rose is the chicken.
B-Rose is the chicken, yeah. I remember when he was trying to break 300 subs, and I called Blue the Silent Bob of his show because he wouldn't talk at all the whole stream, except every now and again he'd have a deep insight. Yeah, I don't think I saw when Blue Samurai was on the show with Bancroft. I was not watching way back when Bancroft had 300 subs, but Mo Biggs is watching everything all the time.
Yes.
So and Mo knows, and
Mo knows all.
Yeah.
And he's eye in the sky.
Yes.
B-Rose is the future stepdad of James's kids.
Oh no. Arrogant Eve says Bancroft is top tier CG. He represents the best of us.
Yeah,
there, enough ego stroking. Now on to Rod.
And we got Immortal Rising comic book in the chat. Thank you so much for hanging out.
Oh, cool.
Us.
Bancroft says B-Rose is the alternate future from Back to the Future
Part 2. when Biff's kids get super important because Biff does the almanac. Now I'm summarizing back.
Yes.
I'll shut up now.
That's right.
So let's see here. What haven't I asked you yet?
Cricket.
Cricket. You could ask questions.
I could, but you have them in front of you. So
it's because I wrote them earlier today.
I understand.
So what advice, as a person who is going to launch their crowdfunding campaign soon, what things have you learned that you would like to share with others who are getting into your situation? Like, let's put it this way. What would you now turn around and tell yourself back in February that you've learned that you're going to need to know?
Okay. Well, the idea of networking and getting to know people is big. That's huge. I would also say, as far as creatively, I think that you have to find a way, at least in my theory, you have to find a way to create a character that's engaging to people, which is a challenge. It's not simple and easy to do. And I think that, what else?
I have a question, actually. I'm going to interrupt you. I remember the question that I didn't ask you. So what's Shadowpunk about? Who's the main character?
Well,
what's their world like?
Who
are the antagonists? What's the central conflict?
She's a 90-year-old woman.
Tell me about the book.
She's trading stocks on the stock exchange, and she's ready for World War III. Yeah. So Shadowpunk takes place in the future of Detroit, and when the book starts, she's already separated from her family. She's lost them. The guild that runs the city and runs these underground operations also, they have actually been involved in the disappearance of her family. So she's living like an animal on her own, and she gets pulled into the gangs that run the city. There's these gangs. You saw them in one of the pages I did of kid gangs, and she gets pulled into them, and then eventually she meets her mentor. And her mentor is an older guy that's been fighting the guild for a long time. And he's in bad shape and he can't do those things anymore. And he needs to find somebody with character and enough toughness to do, what has to be done. He came up with her technology. He is like her Bruce Wayne, and she is like Batman Beyond, right? Her only goal is to find her family. She doesn't want to beat the guild. She doesn't want to beat the gangs. All she wants to do is find her family and take off. But it's going to be an uphill battle. And she's going to have she has a very contentious relationship with her mentor. It's not like they get along or anything. So I was able to go downtown and take tons of photos of Detroit.
She did. Kimo says, okay, now I'm sold on this book.
There you go.
That's a big deal. You're aware that Kimo does reviews and stuff, right? He's he reads a lot of comics. Let's put it that way. Kimo reads a lot of comics. He's got opinions on those comics. So in my opinion, means he's educated, right? Or at least literary when it comes to comics. So if he's looking forward to the book, I think that speaks very well.
I'll take it, man. I know he's a big brain genius. I could tell when I listen to him talk. He knows his stuff.
So keep up with it.
I do my best, man. I scrape by,
Right.
But yeah. So that's her mentor right there.
The mole.
Nice.
And he's a super brilliant guy. He's like the Tony Stark of his day, kind of. But he's too old to do it. He's beat up. He's been kicked around. He's failed so many times,
He's looking for a protege, someone he can pass the mantle on to.
Exactly. And it's living in Detroit. There's a huge population of Black people that have lived in Detroit for so long. And I don't know how much anybody here knows about Detroit, but nobody cares about us. And the people that live in the city, they've been left by the big corporations like Ford and Chrysler, right? I mean, the city is totally devastated already, much less my dystopian future. So the people that live here are tough. And I wanted to make him one of those people. Kind of my tribute to those people that are survivors.
Yep. Kimo says, art looks great. No doubt. But it's all about story with me, and story is what I want to read. I agree. The art has to be enough to keep my interest visually. And I enjoy when a story or a comic book can use art to tell stories, so I don't have to read so many word bubbles. But the story has to be compelling and gripping for me to want to invest myself in actually finishing a book. Right. I'm like that shithead Hollywood script person at when you submit scripts to a studio. If you can't get me in 10 pages, I usually just drop your comic book in a pile of comic books that I haven't finished and move on.
Right.
But Chemo seems to think that this book is really going to have some stellar storytelling to it, so I'm really looking forward to it. Well, Neo says,
"The brilliant star that shines through the night, the sharp thorn in the side of evil, Wiser Man stands before you." I don't know why I decided to add gestures and.
Oh no, he's got love for Detroit.
Oh, I love Detroit. Believe it. That's why my city. The story's about Detroit.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you were with us from the beginning.
No, that's his entrance theme.
Yeah, but that's why I was giving him the benefit of the doubt. But Shadowpunk is actually from Detroit. Lives in the suburbs of Detroit. Correct?
So So if you guys ever seen the movie 8 Mile?
Yeah.
Okay, I live at 12 Mile. So I'm close to Detroit, and I could walk to 8 Mile if I had to, right? So yeah, I'm very familiar with Detroit. And Detroit's really beautiful, man. It used to be such a gorgeous city. The people are still beautiful, but they pulled out on us big time.
Justice for Neff. Is that because I punched him?
Yes.
I'm allowed to punch him.
Yes, justice for Neff.
Pure violence.
Hi.
Hey, Johnny won.
That's true.
Johnny won. You're like the Amber Heard.
Nice. I make nice on that.
All right. So, is there anything else you want to tell people before we wrap it up? Because it's 8:30. We've gone for an hour and a half.
Wow.
I can't remember the last time we
chatting.
did that.
Yeah.
I know. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Kimo says, "Over the hill vigilante looking for protege to take over his mission."
That's my jam.
Yeah.
That's my story. I will say that this really is a labor of love for me. It took me so long to do the animated movie. I was going like 15 hours a day for years, right? And I kept going with the comic book. So I'm 100% committed to getting it done, and I'm excited. I love comic books. I love telling my particular story, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Very excited. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun chatting with you. It just felt like we were just hanging out and talking. I think that's why you forgot to ask most of your questions.
It happens.
Questions are more like guidelines anyway.
I mean, it was
now he's gonna be talking like
it was that
whole no.
It was that Byrne Claremont thing that was a tangent that took about 45 minutes. Right? And I still disagree. I still disagree, right?
I appreciate that though. All right. So Bancroft says, keep up the good shows, guys. Really enjoying your channel lately. Thank you so much, Bancroft. We will try not to disappoint you. So that is going to be it for us tonight, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in, hanging out with us, and while we talk about Shadowpunk. Look forward to the launch on Michael Bancroft's channel, June 18th. To keep you interested in tuning back into these broadcasts, please click like, subscribe, and the bell for notifications.
And tune into the frequency.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.